Over the last 5 months of Parliament's spring session, my Conservative colleagues and I have been fighting to hold Justin Trudeau and his NDP Liberal government accountable. As I return to Kelowna-Lake Country from Ottawa, I want to highlight some of the work I've been working on your behalf. I stood against inflationary deficit spending, government waste, bureaucracy, and red tape, and firmly against many different tax increases that would hurt families and small businesses in our community and across Canada. How can this government spend so much with such failing results? In addition, here are just a handful of the priorities Conservatives pushed for in the last session. We introduced legislation to remove new regulations on natural health products. Conservative Bill C-368 will reverse the changes made by the Liberal government to natural health supplements and passed its most recent vote. Conservatives called for the government to give Canadians a tax break by axing the carbon tax, the gas tax, and the GST on gas and diesel this summer until Labor Day. It has been disappointing that the NDP Liberal government opposed these efforts to give Canadians some respite from the cost of living crisis. Conservatives opposed the expansion of medical assistance in dying to people with the sole underlying condition of mental illness, and also called out the Liberals for breaking their promises with the Canada Disability Benefit. Serving on the Parliamentary Committee that deals with housing, I had the opportunity to hold the Liberal government to account on housing affordability. I questioned experts at the Housing Committee about how the government is not achieving their own goals for home building. Again and again, we heard from experts that the NDP Liberal policies have spent more money to achieve less results. Have you seen any of the following: extension of construction timelines, projects being put on hold or cancelled, and housing starts decreasing?
Short answer is yes.
Is this the worst housing affordability that you've seen in your career?
Yes, in my career, yes.
Conservatives offered solutions to fix Canada's housing crisis by removing the bureaucratic gatekeepers that have slowed construction and made housing unaffordable. In contrast to Justin Trudeau, Conservatives will build the homes Canada needs using a simple mathematical formula that rewards home building and punishes gatekeeping. Our plan, the Build Homes Not Bureaucracy Act, among other things, will require cities to permit 15% more housing completions per year to get federal housing funding. And as Canadians face an unprecedented cost of living crisis, common sense solutions are needed to make homes affordable again. The drug decriminalization policy experiment undertaken by the provincial NDP government that was supported and approved of by the federal Liberal government has created disastrous results with more deaths, more addiction, and more chaos on our streets and our neighborhoods. I questioned the Liberal Minister of Addictions on the issues I have been hearing, including the diversion of drugs from so-called government safe supply to the black market. Disappointingly, this minister didn't even say if she believes parents should know if their child is being prescribed dangerous drugs like fentanyl. Does the minister believe that parental agreement should be required before their child is prescribed a dangerous drug like fentanyl?
The Honourable Minister.
As the member well knows, the relationship between a physician and their patient is a sacred one.
Trudeau is not worth the cost of drugs and disorder in our communities. Common sense Conservatives have stood up to Trudeau, putting forward a number of bills to keep nurses, doctors, and patients safe from drug-related violence in hospitals, prevent the government from further allowing hard drugs to be legalized on our streets, and to protect victims and strengthen penalties for criminals. My Conservative colleagues and I continue to call out Liberal corruption this session, which seems to be never-ending. Conservatives helped expose unprecedented corruption at Trudeau's Green Slush Fund, which spent nearly $76 million on projects that violated conflict of interest rules. We called out the inappropriate government contracts with the consulting firm McKinsey, where it was found that 90% of contracts did not follow appropriate guidelines. I called out the Liberals for their recent revelations made known from a secret report, only partially released, which shows the carbon tax will cause a $30 billion hit to our economy by 2030. These findings mean the carbon tax will cost the average family $2,000 a year. Conservatives called for the Environment Minister to resign for misleading Parliament and Canadians as a result of these revelations. Every day I hear from community groups, businesses, not-for-profit organizations in Kelowna-Lake Country about the work Parliament is doing and what still needs to be done. I look forward to continuing to connect with members of our community this summer and to hear what is most important and stand up for when returning to the House of Commons next session. Let's bring it home.